Okay, my name is Joe Nahama, and I live in the Laurel Glen neighborhood, and my son is a recent graduate of Bakersfield High School, and I have a incoming sophomore, and in a few years, a freshman for 2023. And I want to highly recommend and respectfully request Plan 3, the MAP Plan 3, to be voted on, because I purchased our house, my wife and I, in the BHS district, and we love BHS. We love the people at BHS, we love the staff, we love the administration, and they make that school special to us. And because of that, when I talk to neighbors in the Laurel Glen area, they tell me, the neighbors that either have a child at BHS or some coming, they want to be at BHS. They like what we've told them about it, and they want to experience that as well. So again, I would like to request Plan 3, and my wife and I, we've heard from the principal of BHS. He didn't believe, according to him, that his school is overcrowded and that it had more room for students. And so because of that, we love it. I'm a driller, and thank you for your time.
Good evening. I'm Marianne Keithley, and I was a BHS parent rep for the Boundary Committee 15 years ago. As I read and hear about the current process, I am left with more questions than answers. Plan 1 and 2 affect very few West Side neighborhoods, except those currently attending BHS. Why these West Side neighborhoods are being pinpointed, we don't know. Most of these neighborhoods have gone to BHS for over 30 years. The proposed changes to these neighborhoods have little, if any, impact on the filling of Del Oro or reducing overcrowding. Number 2, when I was on the committee, it was made up of 50 people, primarily parent reps from each high school. This year, the committee is less than half the size and primarily consists of community reps. Who are these community reps? How are they selected? Why has parent input been so drastically reduced? 3, in 2005, committee members worked together to develop the proposed maps. This year, the maps were presented to the committee on day 1. Where did the maps come from? Who and how were the maps produced? I think the process, with its lack of transparency and decreased parental input, has resulted in parent anxiety and mistrust of the district and the process. In May, the Bakersfield California attributed Mr. Sanchez to saying, having students go to school in their neighborhood rather than getting bused in helps knit school culture together. Due to its location, BHS has always had to rely on busing to fill its student capacity, but that has not stopped it from knitting a loyal, active school culture. While outsiders might feel a 5-mile drive to school is daunting, the driller families in the Southwest embrace it. I hope the district will listen and support the parents' wishes and select Plan 3. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Laura Esch. I'm writing this letter to express my concern with the proposed high school boundary changes. Before I start, I have questions about the Kern High boundary change process. Why did Kern High conduct these boundary committee meetings in secret? Why did the process in 2021 differ so much from the 2006 committee process? How were the members chosen? Why are there fewer than 15 people making these recommendations? If each school site principal appointed 2 members, there should have been almost 40 people working on this committee. Why are some members of the Boundary Committee also on other Kern High committees, such as the Oversight Committee? Also, why did Kern High ask some of the same people who sat on the last Boundary Committee in 2006 to again attend in 2021? Were they deemed to be reliable yes people to go along with the district's plan to change boundaries? Why are these public information meetings being conducted in the summer when many of our residents have left town after a very tough year? Why aren't members of the community and parents of current and future Kern High students allowed to ask questions and hear answers at the only public forums the district is allowing? I can only conclude that the Kern High School District doesn't want to answer our questions or to be transparent in their processes. Now I'd like to speak to the changes that affect my family and my neighbors. My husband and I are both alumni of Bakersfield High and purchased our home 16 years ago, knowing that our children would attend BHS. Our home was built in 1984 and has always been zoned for BHS. The neighborhood has been going to BHS for since the early 1980s, for about 40 years. This is an established area and the population doesn't fluctuate. I would understand changing boundaries if I lived in a developing area of town. Similar boundary changes were proposed in 2006 and were voted down by the Kern High School District Board. The reasons these boundary changes failed in 2006 are still valid today. How many times is Kern High School District going to try to rezone our area? Next, I'd like to talk about the expenses associated with busing. As you know, areas in the Rudder are closer to West High, Stockdale High, or even Liberty High. However, most students in these areas would still need to be bused to any high school. If the Rudder area is split up between 2 or more high schools, that would increase busing costs, in my opinion. One of the criteria of the boundary change process is to minimize disruptions, minimize costs, and Plan 1 would be the most disruptive to our area. I attended the last information meeting at West High and was surprised to hear that the only 2 people in support of Plan 1 were Kern High School District employees, and the one was actually a teacher from West High. That seemed to be a conflict of interest, as he didn't seem to have any children that were affected by these changes. I strongly and respectfully urge the Kern High School District Board to vote Plan 3 because it minimizes disruption and because Bakersfield High isn't overpopulated. Please keep these neighborhoods as they have been for 40 years or more. Thank you for your time. Laura Esch, class of 1992 BHS.
Thank you. In, again, no particular order, Connie Taft, Amanda Mazzeros, and Carrie Coston.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Mazzeros, and I'm a BHS alumni. My mother's a BHS alumni. My grandmother's a BHS alumni. My daughter will be an incoming senior this year at BHS, and my son will be an incoming freshman. While these boundary changes and proposals don't directly affect my family, they most certainly affect my neighbors and the students who I teach at a BHS feeder school. I'd like to share my story. We knew we wanted our children to attend BHS from when they were young. We previously lived within the Liberty High School boundaries and followed the rules and procedures through Kern High School District for my daughter to transfer to BHS during open enrollment. Unfortunately, we were denied the transfer. We took the bold step of selling our house and buying a new house in Stockdale Estates so that my children could go to BHS. The neighborhood we purchased our house in is the same neighborhood I grew up in, and I attended BHS. Our neighborhood has been part of the district for over 40 years. Open enrollment and interdistrict transfers are certainly not a guarantee, and for these reasons, I'm asking you to adopt Plan 3. Plan 3 will keep our neighborhood, the Rudder, intact. We will keep the status quo and not disrupt a legacy of tradition. In addition, I have 2 questions to address to the board or administrators at Kern High. There have been talks about transportation savings if the board chooses option 1, which would move several Rudder neighborhoods from BHS to West High. As Mr. Sanchez has mentioned, transportation has to be provided to students who live within more than a 2-mile radius from the school. My current address is 2.9 miles from West High School. I currently live 5.7 miles from BHS. The district would be obligated to provide transportation in either scenario. Is it possible to see projected savings for transportation in all 3 proposals? My next question. From what I've gathered thus far, the primary purpose of the proposed redrawing of boundaries is to balance the schools that are highly over their ideal capacity, backfilling the schools like West that, as we saw this evening, are under-enrolled. For each of the proposals that are now on the table, can the public please be provided with a projection of enrollment at each of the impacted schools over the next 5 years? We'd like to see what the capacity levels will be. While I currently am an advocate of boundary proposal number 3, as it does keep status quo, I would like to see more transparency in this process to better understand what the 3 options truly entail. Thank you for your time. Amanda Mazzeros.
Good evening. My name is Connie Taft. I'm here in support of Plan 3. My husband and I are both transplants to Bakersfield, and when we moved into the area 20 years ago, we didn't know where we wanted to buy our home. But we quickly made some friends in this welcoming community and decided that we wanted our children to go to BHS. We purchased in Stockdale Estates. And here we are 17 years later, and our oldest is going to be an incoming senior, our next is an incoming sophomore, and our daughter, will be a freshman 2 years from now. I'm in support of Plan 3 because I feel it does the best for our children. I understand the concern of leveling the playing fields of all of the different schools, but I feel like the capacity issue at BHS isn't really an issue. We have been given information that the BHS current capacity is actually under by quite a bit of what the school can actually hold. And I know in years past, they've had much larger attendance. So I have questions about how those capacity numbers are derived. And if our school is one of the largest in the city, I'm making that assumption because I've been there. I don't know why we need to have our children taken away if we have the capacity to hold them. And while other schools have different capacities, one size does not fit all. So some schools may be able to hold more students than others. And also, our school is fairly landlocked. So I'm not sure how the trajectories of 10 years from now hold out on the numbers changing dramatically. And I'm also concerned with what is, and this is really my major concern, what is the measurable and compelling benefit to our students by moving them from a thriving, inter-district, diverse school that without a doubt has some of the best rigor in town, from their AP classes, through their STEM classes, through the innumerable clubs and opportunities available for these children to participate in. What is the measurable benefit of moving anybody from that school? I thank you for your time. My name is Connie Taft, and I'm in support of Plan 3.
As we wait for our next speaker, I'm just going to call the next 3 so you're ready. Veronica Ruiz, Karina Chavez, and Anna Ashe.
Good evening. Can you hear me all right? There we go. Good evening. My name is Carrie Coston. I am approaching in favor of Plan number 1. I would like to ask for 2 considerations for the board when they review this for later. The first one would be to go and log on to their social media accounts, look up the reports that have been made by our local news broadcasting companies, and go read the comment section of those. They have the overwhelming support of the community that there are changes to be made to the community. The community seems to overall be very excited about the growth and the opportunity of a new school and things to be changed around a little bit. So I would ask that they go and do that, and they don't go based solely on the public forum here or at any of the other ones, but they go and look and see for the people who can't get out to these forums, the people that aren't going to come to these forums, that they would get out, read those comments, and have a better, well-rounded idea of what the community would like for them. My second consideration comes as a parent of 3 students who graduated from here at Foothill High School. All 3 of my students in the top of their class going on to pursue further education. We were an inter-district transfer into this school because this school had some of the programs that we wanted for our students. I do not regret that decision at all. My children had a wonderful opportunity here, wonderful education here, great staff. I mean, overall, it's been a very, very positive experience at this school. However, I am in favor of the idea of neighborhood schools, and the reason for that is because it does build the community up. My own students could have walked to school with their neighborhood friends. They could have walked to games with their neighborhood friends. When you drive through our neighborhood right now, you see all kinds of signs up for the school that most of those kids went to, and my kids kind of stick out like a sore thumb because they went to a different school. Again, absolutely no regret in that decision, but there is definitely something to be said for having a neighborhood and a community to rally around you and help you get involved as parents and as students. So I would just ask that they please look long and hard at what is best for our community as a whole as we continue to grow in our town, and vote for map number 1. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Veronica Ruiz. First, I want to thank you for allowing us to speak here at this forum. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm the mother of a junior at Highland High School and a middle schooler. I am here to voice my opposition of Plan Number 3 that will exclude the students around Fairfax and Highland Knolls, just south of the 178, from attending Highland High School. Currently, students who live in this area regularly walk to and from school, giving Highland High a neighborhood school feel. If these students are bused to Foothill, it will cause an added transportation expense to the district, as well as disrupt our connection to Highland, which is less than a mile away. Again, I do not agree with the boundary changes proposed in Plan 3. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Anna Esch, and I'm a resident of Foothill Estates. I am now a sophomore at BHS and a proud driller. As I had most of my freshman year on Zoom, I only had a few weeks of school on campus. But I can truthfully say that in those few weeks on campus, I felt included, loved, and well cared for. I love my school and can't imagine it any other way. I want my brother and sister and all the kids of these neighborhoods to feel the same way about BHS. I am creating so many memories, and it would be so sad if all these kids, including my brother and sister, can't create those same memories later on. Many families that are being affected by these boundary changes moved to those neighborhoods so that their kids could eventually go to BHS and become a driller. I know that my parents moved into the house that I live in today 2 weeks before I was born, so my siblings and I could go to BHS just like them in the future. And here I am, a proud daughter of 2 driller alumni and a sophomore at Bakersfield High School. I know that there are so many families out there who have the same story, and I want so badly for their kids to have the chance to go to their parents' high school, BHS, and be a driller just like them. So please consider Plan 3 for this reason. Once a driller, stay a driller. Thank you.
As the next speaker makes her way to the podium, after that is Paul Chavez, Tate Turner, and Brian Grant.
Hi, everybody. My name is Karina Chavez. Thank you for this forum. I appreciate it. As many of my fellow BHS representatives, I'm for Plan 3. Several times this has come up and people ask me, why are you so passionate about it? And I'll tell you why. Investment in a home is something to be passionate about. Investment in your children and tradition is something to be passionate about. Mr. Sanchez, I was listening very thoroughly as you spoke, and I had something planned, but something struck me in your conversation. It was minimal disruption. If you think that not choosing Plan 3 is minimal disruption, I'm here to tell you that's not accurate. What contributes to a culture of a school? Sports, parent involvement, alumni. Those are major impacts on this school. The proposed changes completely change that for Bakersfield High School. I just would like you to consider those changes. They are major. They do change the culture of the school. You change the tradition and you change the trajectory of the school. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Tate Turner, alumni and former senior class president of Bakersfield High School, class of 2019. My time at BHS was phenomenal, and I hope that others can say the same. The opportunities to be involved were plentiful, and staff was exceptional, and I will argue they still are. In 4 short years, I found myself so involved that I would hardly be in class. You can check my attendance record. It was not good. And Mr. Wilmot could confirm that. Speaking of Mr. Wilmot, one of the reasons I went to BHS was because of Project Lead the Way. I could have gone to Centennial and joined that PLTW program and enjoyed the perks of being with my friends from Fruitvale Junior High. But BHS had this vibe about it that other schools didn't. You know, basements, cockroaches, the pool on top of Warren, elevator passes, opportunities I could not pass up. All jokes aside, the current boundaries offer an educational experience second to none. And I'm not just talking about what goes on in the classroom. Bakersfield High teaches more than just math and science, but it teaches diversity, inclusion, and what it means to be a part of this community. Many of the friends I made at BHS live in the neighborhoods of Laurel Glen, Stockdale Estates, and Old Stockdale. They were involved just like me and thrived at a school that supported them. We all loved our time at BHS. I could not imagine where I would be without my experience there. Thank you, and I urge the board to adopt Plan 3.
Good evening. My name is Paul Chavez. I live in Old Stockdale as a driller alumni and current driller parent and educator. I'm very concerned about the proposed boundary changes that will impact the impact that will have on the academic culture at BHS. And as an educator, I know academic culture is very important for any school success. When my daughter began high school, we attempted to move into the BHS district without success and had to apply for interdistrict transfer. Finally, as my son entered high school 4 years later, we moved into our dream house in Old Stockdale. Never did I imagine that my youngest daughter would not have the same opportunity to keep the family tradition alive that started with my father in the 60s. When I attended BHS, we had over 3,500 students, so I know BHS can support the proposed enrollments that are currently in place. A school's success depends on 3 things, as I already mentioned, which is academics, athletics, and extracurricular activities. Losing any of these 3 areas will have an adverse impact on the rich tradition of the driller history. BHS is landlocked, as it was referenced earlier, and future growth will be limited. I'm very concerned as a parent, as a driller alumni, of what BHS will look like a few years down the road if changes to the current boundaries are changed. Any school success depends on the school culture. This, I feel, has always been a strength at BHS. Athletics, academics, and extracurricular activities play a huge part in the school's success. With the recent CIF league realignment, which takes BHS out of its current leagues, this may have a negative impact on BHS, making it less attractive for future students. In addition, the significant change to its current boundaries will further impact the success of BHS. If a school has shown success for over almost 130 years, as I graduated as a 100 graduating class at Bakersfield High School, achieving success in academics, athletics, and extracurricular activities, why should the longest standing school in the district be negatively impacted? As a driller alum who moved into my neighborhood to keep my family tradition alive, this would break my heart, but more importantly, my youngest child's heart, who's going to be an 8th grader this year, who has been dreaming her whole life of becoming a driller. My oldest daughter graduated BHS and was an active member of student leadership. I have an incoming senior who's been a part of the driller student leadership every year, and I have a future driller who's also looking forward to her time at BHS. I know the proposed areas to be taken away from BHS will include many other student leaders like my own who keep BHS successful over the years. I support Proposal 3 to keep preparing our kids for what lies ahead when they graduate high school. Thank you.
Ms. Briscoe Clark, Mr. Sanchez, and Kern High School District Trustees. My name is Brian Grant. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I have 2 young kids. I do not yet have a dog in this fight. They're 7 and 9. And I also was a member of the redistricting committee, and I was asked to be on that committee, and I immediately accepted, mainly because I'm a huge advocate of public education, and I know how good it is and how good we have it in this school, these schools in this district. I want to first start by commenting on Plan 1, which was very clear to me going through the process that Plan 1 is a solution looking for a problem. It only meets one criteria, and that's really the proximity. That is really nominal. It causes major disruptions for some West Side neighborhoods and is simply a trade of some students that doesn't really affect the overall enrollment in either school. It seemingly was an effort to boost West High, and rather than trade, what I believe is best is to build certain schools up from their foundation and try to have Bakersfield High School be the model for that, not try to just simply trade. Nothing good is ever created by tearing down your neighbors. I would also like to advocate for Plan 3. This achieves 5 of the 6 goals, and I urge the trustees to consider this as by far the best plan. There are minimized disruptions, and it keeps the tradition alive at Bakersfield High School. Again, I think Bakersfield High School, with its 130-year history, we talk about community support. I think that what you see here is, even though we're not within 2 miles of the school, this is our community, and I think that's why you see so many people here today. Again, I urge the trustees to vote for Plan 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Karina Chavez. After Ms. Chavez, it will be Mark Summerhays.
Hi, my name is Cameron Chavez, and I just want to say that I'm welcome to be here, and I hope to take your time today. I just want to start out by saying that my grandfather, my dad, my sister, and my brother is an incoming senior right now, and I hope to get this opportunity like they do. So I hope that you guys will take this time to vote for Plan 3. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Summerhays. I am also a current committee member. I've also been on the past committee members. I want to thank the staff of KHSD that started this process with us to give us opportunities to look at things and change things as needed. I know the board has a high chance of choosing one of these 3. They may kick it back like they did the last. There's always been tradition at schools. I graduated from an out-of-state high school that is as older, if not older, than BHS. We have traditions. Every school has traditions. I've been a parent volunteer when my kids were in kindergarten through their graduation of high school, and my oldest is 29 years old. My youngest just graduated 2 years ago. They were Foothill and Highland. We've lived in Highland, and it bounces back and forth. Interdistrict transfers is what my son decided to do, to go to Highland. I've been around almost all the schools of the 19 comprehensive schools in this district and seen the traditions that each high school has. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Well, again, thank you for everyone who came out tonight to provide this input. It's very important in this process, and all of your comments will be given to our Board of Trustees for review. You can, if you have any additional comments or questions, you can email boundaryquestions@kernhigh.org. Also, if you go to kernhigh.org, on the front page of the website, you'll see on the top left is a bubble that has all the boundary maps and frequently asked questions. So again, thank you so much for coming out tonight and for your time. Have a safe drive home.